Hi, welcome to Nakama News. I'm your host, Jordan Goldie, and this is my co host, Jamie Lawagi. We're here to bring you the news today, and the first big news we got for you is that we're sponsored by Rice Crackers. You should try a new flavor today. But in other news, we have a bloodied up clown who's announced his bid for leader of the pirates. We don't know what to do about that.
And more serious matter, a man that we all thought was dead already was murdered by a citizen today. Rest in peace, Vice Admiral T-Bone. All right, finally. Oh.
Welcome to Nakama News. This is the news.
The common news, you'll see friendship when you view the common news. Well, everyone lends a helping hand or two. I'm glad you could stick around for a minute now. You're always welcome at the common news.
All right, today we'll be doing a review on Chapter 1082 titled Let's Go and Claim It. So, spoilers for people who have not
Yeah,
read that chapter yet, but let's do
good
it.
read.
All right, man. So, let's just get right into it. What do you say?
Let's do it.
So, first scene this week, we're starting off at Navy Marine headquarters. We get the news that Vice Admiral T-Bone was killed. Who is that? Just kidding. I looked it up. Um, I forgot about this guy a little bit because he was just in the Water 7 arc. But yeah, Vice Admiral T-Bone killed, Cross Guild kind of successful with their Marine bounties. And we get Sengoku Suru reacting to the news. Kind of interesting. Suru kind of goes off saying how you can't really blame the people from this country that murdered T-Bone um, because of how poor and impoverished they are. And then Sengoku, he's wondering where Garp is, and then they find out together that Garp had gone to Pirate Island to save Kobe with Sword. Um, what were your thoughts on this first scene of the chapter?
Man, I'm just like you. I completely forgot about T Bone. Like I was like, I think I scrolled past that thing just and saw the obituary, and I was like, do I know that guy? I had to rehash it after. But he's like the dude who's always trying to take his own life because he, he's such a good guy and he wants to help everyone. He's a good Marine who's a little too good. I thought it was really cool that we saw uh, Suru and Sengoku who were talking about Garp being missing, particularly because Suru, we met her daughter, and so that means
Granddaughter,
Garp just
granddaughter.
abducted granddaughter. So that means Garp just abducted Suru's granddaughter and took her to the front lines of the battlefield. And Suru's just kind of sitting there all calm, like, yeah, I don't know where Garp is.
Yeah,
So,
so because they reference Kujaku, who was I believe the kind of the whip fruit girl.
yep.
Uh, so that was kind of interesting, yeah, and a little maybe a little overreacting there, saying that Garp kidnapped her. I think pretty sure she volunteered, but
Well, we
this
sure hope
was
so.
they did point out that Garp teamed up with Sword, not that Garp was a part of Sword. So more confirmation that Garp is just kind of doing his own thing, not with Sword. Also, more confirmation that Sword is more popular knowledge than we thought. Because I think in the past we'd always thought the Sword division was always like a secret infiltrate, like almost like trying to overthrow the world government from within or make change from within. But no, it sounds like it was pretty common knowledge, right?
Yeah, it does. It does. Sword's becoming more popular. I don't know. It's got to be a whole lot less secret now. But Garp is kind of. I don't know if he's just kind of doing his own thing or if he's just retired in his mind and he's just like, I'm just gonna go cruise the world now. Because he's just kind of he doesn't seem to listen to anyone at this point. He just kind of rolls away and does whatever he wants. And the old people find out about it later at HQ and are like, where the heck's Garp?
Yeah, he's basically a pirate man at this point. He's a
Pirate
pirate.
Marine.
Yeah,
Pirate Marine.
I love it. I love it. All
That was
right,
an awesome scene.
what
So
happens
in the
next?
next scene, yeah, we get the Cross Guild again. We go back to Cross Guild, which I was kind of hoping for. That's cool that we went back to Cross Guild and we get to see
Yeah,
more more Buggy. Unfortunately for Buggy, uh, he's got to deal with all these people who this situation where he's a fake leader. But he's loving it. He's announcing to this old man that he gets a reward, and the old man is kind of crying. He's in terrible grief and regret and guilt because he's killed T-Bone. He killed T-Bone, our boy.
I,
Rest in peace.
I'm not even convinced he killed T-Bone. Like I said, I really think that T-Bone just like was like, oh, you get money if I die, and then just like slits his own neck or something really dark. Like this guy is probably just in grief and like despair because of what he saw T-Bone do to himself. At this point, I'm not even convinced that this nice
Yeah,
old guy killed a man.
dude, T-Bone is the most. He's one of those guys like a pink-haired samurai who was always trying to commit seppuku. That's
Oh
how
yeah.
that's how T-Bone always was. He was just like, "Holy crap, I can help you if I if I hurt myself. Let's do it. Let's do it." And so, I don't know if anyone remembers T-Bone, but that was his personality, and so I could totally see that.
And he was a little what's the word, gullible, I guess, T-Bone, because Sanji does trick him in the back of the C train cars in Water 7, and that's how they kind of cut those cars off, and then those cars go on the track without any engine pulling them, and that's when Zoro and Luffy encounter the cars, and then Zoro takes on T-Bone, and T-Bone had already sliced up a Sea King at this point, and then even Zoro respects kind of T-Bone's strength. So to me, it seems pretty obvious that unless this nice guy kindly asked if he could kill T-Bone, and T-Bone let him, or T-Bone just took his own life to help this country, or probably more likely, that this guy snuck up or tricked T-Bone. I just don't believe, that T-Bone would get killed like that. So
I don't either.
there's a
He's kind of an old man with no powers. But I
there's a
wanted to know. You go.
oh, sorry, yeah, there's a funny Reddit theory that they all think T-Bone's dead, but really he's just sleeping, and he just always looks dead. So he'll just wake up at some point and not be dead.
He does kind of have the zombie face that they have in One Piece. Um, and then I also wanted to know how he got out of the water because he got cut in the middle of the water by Zoro in the middle of a storm. You're not even supposed to sail in, let alone swim in, and he somehow survived. He must have. I think they said something along the lines of he swam either to the train or something along that like that. He swam out way out there. I remember that from One Piece, and they mentioned that like this dude is an unbelievable
Yeah,
swimmer. That's the
swimming
only
with
thing I got for how T-Bone survived.
swimming with sea kings and whatnot. Yeah, dude's wild. But yeah, what else
And then
happens in this scene?
after T-Bone, we see the reveal of the Cross Guild's figurehead on their ship, and Buggy is got the
Mm,
face. He's like, "Oh my god, you're gonna use that? Me? I gotta be the figurehead. They're gonna that means they're gonna come after me." So Buggy's freaking out. He's terrified. And of course, all the crewmates are going crazy because that's just how that is. The Cross Guild, they love nothing more than Buggy, so they're going crazy. And Jamie, I wanted to hear. Did you see anything about the ship or Buggy's reactions that seemed interesting?
I just think it's funny because Buggy is such an interesting character, right? He's such an interesting guy because he's been with us since the beginning of One Piece, basically, and he's ended up being way more integral to the story than I ever thought he would be. So just all that together, and he's a character that just continues to fail upwards, and that's kind of his punishment for being kind of a rotten guy. Is that he keeps getting further and further into this imposter syndrome, and then he gets tortured because of it. So it's kind of like bad things happen to bad people, even though things look good for him. It's really not good because he's just getting his ass beat all the time, and getting destroyed by Mihawk and Crocodile or whomever, and put in these situations where he just is not comfortable because he's not the strong. He's not that strong. So this is just great because it shows him again. He knows what's up. Crocodile, Mihawk see that figurehead. They take him into the meeting room, which is basically a torture chamber for poor Buggy. Like they got seats with spikes on them. He's just hanging from a hook on the ceiling, and all bloodied and battered in his face. The poor guy at this point, like you got to start feeling for him.
Yeah, and well, what I want to know is because the scene where his head is hanging and he's all bloody and he's just like kind of there with Mihawk and Crocodile. Right before that, he's got speaking to everyone and he's cheering about how they turned in or cheering about rewarding the old man for T-Bone, and he's speaking. So I wonder if that's just his head with a cape on it, and then the rest of his body is like tied up somewhere or something like that.
Oh
Because,
yeah,
but
I'm
that's
not
what I
sure.
was thinking.
Yeah, because
Um,
he's made himself look bigger with just like spreading his body parts out in like kind of the cape.
You
But
never
yeah,
see his body in these in these comics. It's just his head. So I don't know where they put his body. Maybe they threw it in the bottom of the ocean for all we know. But Mihawk and Crocodile are definitely trying to take control. And then we get a flashback.
yeah.
What do you think about
Well,
that?
the flat, yeah, he because Buggy kind of it points out that they're going about it not the right kind of pirate way. They're being a little too businessy or methodical about this, and they're trying to get wealth and power by just being a business. And Buggy's gets disappointed. So
Right.
yeah, it goes into the flashback, which it's it's right after Goldie Roger was executed, right? And we
Yeah.
see kind of more of that interaction. We had gotten this in the past between Shanks and Buggy following that interaction. What were your thoughts on this?
Well, I thought it was interesting to see that Shanks invited Buggy to join his crew. So Shanks has never really been hostile to Buggy in the past that we've seen, even though Buggy has such a grudge against Shanks. Maybe that's just because Shanks thinks that Buggy's so lowly he doesn't have to worry about him, or maybe he actually likes Buggy. Who knows? What do
Maybe.
you think?
Yeah, we had seen part of this scene play out in distant one. I forget where it was, but so it wasn't new to us that Shanks asked Buggy to be part of his crew. What was new was kind of Buggy. They show Buggy as being like, oh, once Shanks got that hat from Roger, that was kind of Roger saying like, you're gonna be the one to fill my shoes when I'm gone. And so seems to have this belief that Shanks is destined for great things. And then after Roger is executed, Shanks says he doesn't want to go get the One Piece right now, and that then all of a sudden Buggy's like loses a little bit of faith in him. Says like, I'm not going to join you. I'm still mad at you for ruining my map in
Losing the
my life.
treasure map.
Yeah, and so to me that was like an interesting part. And one thing I wanted to comment on was Roger told Shanks something secret that the reader and the listener could not hear after he got back from the One Piece or Laugh Tale. And um, after he told him that, Shanks started crying. And then, so this scene obviously happens after that. So before this, Shanks always was like, "We're gonna go to Laugh Tale. We're gonna find the One Piece ourselves." Then it kind of after that scene where Roger tells him something that we don't hear, all of a sudden Shanks is like, "We're not ready yet. I don't want to go look for it yet." So I wonder, what your thoughts are. Do you think there's a potential correlation there between those scenes and kind of that flashback?
I don't know if we can confirm it. I'd like to believe that whatever Rogers told Shanks made Shanks believe he wasn't ready to go get the One Piece yet. Which is, I mean, that would make sense. Um, it's just so far apart that we can't confirm that, and Shanks may have just seen something along the way. It could have been anything that made
Yeah.
Shanks decide he didn't want to go get the One Piece. Maybe the fact that he doesn't have a crew. Um,
Yeah.
but I do like to believe that whatever Rogers said it's influenced Shanks in that way because it seems to be chronological, even though these are so split up.
But yeah, I mean, then it goes to Buggy, who out of nowhere, I think the first time in the series, he says he wants to be king of the pirates. So that was kind of a cool
Buggy.
little flashback and then, moment for Buggy. What are your thoughts on him saying he wants to be king of the pirates now?
Man, well, I've been trying to think if Buggy has ever said that before in One Piece. And I don't remember it. It's because he was so shocked when he was made an emperor that it blew his mind completely. So now he's all of a sudden saying, "I want to be king. Screw that. The emperor is not even big enough." Even though he's already got the imposter syndrome for being an emperor, he wants to go deeper, and he's just like, "Screw it. We're just gonna go for the whole thing." He does. It is interesting that he gives a really impassioned speech that kind of overshadows Crocodile and Mihawk, even though he's getting stepped on in the process. So I'm wondering how everyone outside hears him give this impassioned speech with his face half closed by a foot. But uh, I thought it was something that's kind of characteristic for Buggy, because he's always been someone who can talk big, but he's not someone who can do anything big. So this is
Yeah.
right up his alley. What do you think?
Yeah, no, definitely it's classic Buggy just moment when his head falls from the hook, knocks down the transponder snail, Mike, and he gives his like impassioned plea to Mihawk and Crocodile in front of, unbeknownst to them, in front of all of the pirate Yonko crew there. So now they are set, like they can't just turn back because they have to kind of follow through now. My question really for Oda or the series is, how are you gonna explain the deficiency of poneglyphs here? Because uh, every single other emperor right now has 3 road poneglyphs, and we're waiting on this man, burn scar guy, that we kind of learned more about last chapter. But as far as I know, Mihawk, Crocodile, Buggy have no road poneglyphs. So I can't really think of a way that they're gonna get them unless they just stalk somebody to, but they wouldn't beat them then. So to me,
And I,
that's
and I
kind of
think they kind of addressed that too, didn't they? Because Mihawk and Crocodile were like, "You really think we're going to take on Blackbeard, Red Hair, and the Straw Hats?" So I mean, I think that was kind of his way of saying, "Look, if we're going to go find the One Piece, we have to get all of these road poneglyphs. How the heck are we going to do
yeah,
that?
exactly.
We're not going to
Yeah,
fight these
unless we fight them. Captain John's treasure, baby.
guys."
Yeah, that's it. What if Captain John's treasure was just rubbings of all 4 poneglyphs, and that's how they get there.
I do kind of want Buggy's arc to end with him finding this treasure map that he's been upset about the entire series. You might not get the One Piece, but give him whatever that, that is as a consolation.
Let's see. Any other thoughts on that scene, that chapter, or that part of the chapter?
Um, well, it was kind of interesting to see Crocodile and Mihawk scheming a bit. So they had when they had Buggy all hooked up by the hair and he's just all bloody. They're talking about their plans and what they wanted to do before Buggy ruined them. And what they said was kind of individual. So they had Mihawk was just kind of I know Crocodile was trying to build his empire. So Crocodile's been trying to build his empire since Alabasta, and then when that got ruined, now he's still consistent. He wants his military dominated utopia that he's a part of that can resist the world government, but he gets to be the guy. Mihawk, I'm not exactly sure, other
Yeah,
than trying to fight Marines. What do you think Mihawk's doing? Like, what are his goals and
I'm
motivations?
not sure. Mihawk's always been a kind of a loner by himself. Like even on his island with Perona, he just was kind of there with like those guerrilla guys. Um, so I'm not sure what his overall goal is. If it's just to survive and be left alone by the real government. So by aligning himself with Crocodile, he can be part of this utopia and just like have a mansion off in some dark, brooding area of the country. I'm not sure. Yeah, they're really keeping a lot of Mihawk's aspirations, kind of silent. So not sure, but yeah, the Utopia thing for Crocodile has been one steady kind of character feature for Crocodile since he was introduced at Alabasta. So that's pretty cool that he's still who he is, even though he's had some moments of change at Marineford and whatnot. But yeah, kind of wild, man, kind of wild.
And then we get a shot of Sabo and the Revolutionary Army. So we go all the way to Kamabaka Kingdom, and we get to meet 4 of the vice captains of the Revolutionary Army here. We've met some of the captains in the past, but I don't know if we've met the vice captains. So this was kind of
No, definitely the first time we're introduced to these vice captains. So that's pretty exciting. And they come back. Yeah, Sabo's on a Lelusian ship, and that's when we find out that what is her name, Moda, the girl from Lelusia, Kingdom,
girl.
on a cover story. Everyone thought she was dead, but apparently she's not. She's with them. So pretty exciting, pretty big. I think we all were pretty skeptical that Sabo was like in that blast when Lelusia Kingdom got utterly destroyed by whatever that was. So not surprised that he's back. Um, what do you think about Sabo's return to the Revolutionary Army? And I think there's a couple kind of reveals here that we get into as well.
Yeah, I don't think anyone was going to expect to see Sabo killed off screen. Like that was just not going to happen. So that wasn't a big surprise, but it is good to see him again. It is kind of interesting that when Sabo came back, he came on a Lelusian ship, like you said. So we don't know. He must have just stolen one along with Moda and then got out of there somehow, some way prior to the blast, I would guess, because I don't know how you would do it after.
Yeah.
So that means that he found out about it somehow, and I'm going to guess that whatever he found out about on the Holy Land, on Mary Joie, tied into him knowing that this was going to happen and being able to get away.
Yeah, that's a good thought because he would have had to have either got very lucky that he left that island with people that wanted to join the Revolutionary Army at that time, or probably more likely he knew that the island was going to get destroyed and he was getting people off the island that wanted to come with him. But still, it would be a little weird for him not to save everybody. So it might just be he got lucky. They do make a mention because when he called them last time we heard Sabo before he got blown up or fake blown up.
Sabo, man, how many times is this guy gonna almost die?
There's One Piece. Over 5 more times. He called on a transponder snail last time. It wasn't encrypted. We all knew that. The Marines were listening. He says like he couldn't talk on the transponder snail any longer because they were listening to him. And I'm like, why did you say all that stuff in the first place if you knew they were listening? So that was kind of weird. But they kind of explain it by saying he used a 3-beat code to signal that he was all right. And I did go back and look at 1060 in the panel where the beam comes down, destroys Lelusia Kingdom. There is this little onomatopoeia or sound effect that goes doo-doo-doo, doo-doo-doo. That might be what he's talking about, but not very obvious to me. But I think the most important part of this chapter is that Sabo's sitting down with Dragon and Ivankov. They say, he says he doesn't want the captains or the vice captains to be there because the information he's got is too kind of serious and might put their lives at risk. They talk about Kuma for a brief second. Dragon says something like he believes that Kuma might have been programmed to return to Mary Joie as a contingency. So I'm wondering if you have any ideas on what this contingency could have been.
Contingency for what? I've thought about that too. It's like clearly he learned something very important, and whatever he learned affects both Kuma and him getting off alive from Lelusia. So what things could tie into that is kind of the question. And I mean, it's got to be for me something either knowledge of the weapon that destroyed the island, or it's got to be in the case where the weapon is leaked, that would be like the contingency. Or in the case where Sabo gets away, or they have some kind of danger, then Kuma could have been programmed to go back. I don't. That would be my 2 top guesses. I don't know. What do you think? Do you have guesses at that one?
Oh, it's a good. Yeah, it's hard. I'm not sure. It's very unclear the Kuma stuff that's going on with the actual Kuma. It looked like he got activated by something that was going on with Bonnie or Jewelry Bonnie. That's what they implied way back with like Egghead Island. Like she was in trouble, and then he like all of a sudden got up and he just zoomed out of there. Uh,
Yeah,
but
I
I
remember
can't
that.
think of the contingency for her that would cause him to go back to where he was like being mistreated as a slave. And then I also can't think of a reason why the world government would have like needed him back there at that moment either. So not clear. We need more information. Is basically what that is because it's either related to Jewelry Bonnie, but I can't think of why he would go not towards her, or it's related to the world government, and I have no clue what's going on there that he needs to go back there. But it's definitely a parallel to that old robot that's down in like the basement of Egghead that Luffy discovered that they found that they stated was climbing the red line as
Yeah,
well to go in, and everyone thought it was attacking Mary Joie, but instead it might have been trying to free people, help people, do something else. We're not sure.
gosh, that's such an interesting theory with Bonnie. So, I mean, one more theory to play on your theory, I guess. Um, I could see this being I guess this is almost a little bit of an anime trope, but it could be the emotions above all thing, where if Kuma were to find out about Jewelry Bonnie, maybe he thought she was dead, maybe he found out she's in trouble, whatever the case. It could be that his emotions would override his programming. So this contingency could be that if in the case where he learns something about Bonnie being in danger, being alive if he doesn't know, um, that they would have some kind of massive override that would just uh, shut him down and bring him home. Basically, I could see that too.
Yeah, yeah, no,
Um,
that's a good
and
thought.
then
Maybe just the pure emotions triggered something within him that might have like been meant for something else, but because he got so emotional, or that he could sense that Bonnie was in danger, the idea that something he cares about is in danger, then he flees back to Mary Joie. Interesting. We'll hopefully find out sometime. I mean, before the end of the series, or it'll forever be just a loose plot thread, and we'll just never know.
gosh, Kuma is such a fun character. The fact that he's dead but not dead this entire series practically is, and you just slowly learn more about him. That's cool. That's a really cool thread. And then you have the most important what if, which is Sabo saying that there's something he knows that's so dangerous that he can't tell anybody else in the Revolutionary Army except for the two leaders. What do you think
Yeah,
that is, James? What do you
yeah.
think?
So I mean, they're hinting at it again that we're gonna learn what happened at the Reverie, and to kind of remind myself, prepare a little bit. I had gone back and reread most of the chapters that were pertaining to stuff we got from the Reverie. And holy cow, it's so scattered and spread out that it's kind of confusing to even like go back and reread and find the spots. But um, yeah, something serious happened. There was a assassination attempt. There was also someone who died, who we found out was King Nefertari. And
Vivi
then
was captured.
Sabo, in the news, they said Sabo like kidnapped Vivi. And then later on, we find out that Vivi actually escaped with Big News Morgans and King Wapple. So they're up there right now. Um, so I'm not sure what's going on there. And then at some point, I don't think we ever actually saw this scene in the anime or in the manga, but Sabo must have seen Imu sitting on the throne that no one sits on. So, and then there was also, just to keep adding all the stuff that happened that was off screen. Green Bull and Fujitora had their big fight with Sabo, and they weren't able to go all out, and that's how Sabo and the Revolutionaries were able to kind of free Kuma at that time too. So many moving parts. I'm not even sure what he's gonna say right now because I feel like the answers have been there. I think the questions I have is who killed King Nefertari and why, and to kind of give a little more background on that, right, was King Nefertari. He was appearing all sick and ill when they were going to the Reverie. Like it's only been 2 years since we'd seen him previously before the time skip, and now this guy looks like he's gonna die on the ship. I'm like,
Age
what's going
50
on? This
years
guy,
and two.
this guy aged terribly. Uh, and then at the reverie, it cuts to the five elders talking with him, and they say something like, "Oh, the Nefertari family, the one noble family or original founding family, or whatever, out of the 20 that stayed in the lower realm, has always been kind of a trouble for us." And it sounds like he wants to like talk to us about something. Do you think he's on to it? So I wonder if they. I'm not sure. I have no clue. I have no clue what's going on. But at the end of the day, the only things that really we don't know is who killed King Cobra or whatever, or King Nefertari.
Yeah, that and the Kuma case. And then I really want to know how to pronounce Emu's name. I've read it so many times. I still don't know how to pronounce that thing. Like, but everything about him, we don't know anything about him basically. So those are definitely the biggest what ifs about the Reverie. I'm really hoping we get a chapter next that will answer some of those questions before we go back to Egghead.
I'm really hoping that they don't cut away. Just please, just tell us what's going on.
Something more. You can't give us that cliffhanger and then jump somewhere else, please.
Yeah, we're gonna go back, and it's gonna be freaking one of the Egghead or the Vegapunk satellites chapter. I'll be like, no. Tell me, you cowards, what's going on?
Oh gosh, that was a good chapter. That was a fun chapter. I'm really excited for the next one. And what do you think? You got any predictions that you want to make before we
50-50 if we get the continuation of the story or we bounce around somewhere else? I'm not sure. What do you think?
I'm thinking they're not going to leave it on that. I don't think they're going to leave it on that. I think that we at the very minimum get a story from Sabo. Maybe not a full-on flashback. We at minimum get Sabo telling us what he's learned and get some more details there.
It does seem to be kind of Oda style to set up a flashback or like a flash story like this, a flashback story with a panel like this. So I would be surprised if he teases us again. So I agree. I think we'll probably get the information that we need. It'll probably still have not all the information we want, but we'll probably get a couple good nuggets, and we'll see what it shows.
Awesome. All right. Well, that's all we got for you today on Nakama News, guys. Jamie, anything before we sign off?
No. Please follow us so that I can quit my day job.
I would also like a follow for the Nakama News, Twitter, Instagram, TikTok. Go find us there. Thanks, guys, for joining in. We'll see you next week.
Everyone lends a helping hand or two. I'm glad you could stick around for a minute now. You're always welcome at Nakama News.